Holly Ruffles. I'm studying a Cert 4 in veterinary nursing, and today I'll be doing my VET403 simulated practical case 1 blood. So I've got here my sheets that I've just prepared just to make sure I don't miss any points for the purposes of the video. I've got my pre-filled lithium heparin tube, so that's got 1.3 mils of blood in it. I've got my 2 microhematocrit tubes for testing my PCV. I've already pre-filled these and sealed the ends with this putty, as the blood can't be clotted when these samples are made. So this is the putty as well. This is my stat spin machine, used for both spinning the blood down and for spinning my PCV. This is the PCV rotor. To fit the stat spin, the PCV tubes are fitted in these grooves here, and then the top is sealed. This is my refractometer. This piece of glass here is where the sample will be placed, and then the lid will be closed over the top. I've got my Kim wipes. They're for wiping the surface of the refractometer before and after. I've got my PCV reader here, so I align the microhematocrit tube with this and ascertain my result accordingly. Here I've got a pipette for drawing up my serum. It's got a disposable end, and I've made sure not to touch that at all. So in regards to PPE, so I'm wearing gloves and then usual clinic attire. So I've got shoes, my hair is tied back, and I have long pants on. I've also got a sharp spin handy to dispose of the PCV tubes once I have obtained a result. I have disinfected the bench prior to setting out these items using these F10 wipes here. I wore gloves to do this cleaning, and I washed my hands before and after putting on gloves. I have since put on a fresh pair of gloves. Because I don't have a lot of time, I have already prepared both of my blood samples. So the species, so this was a sample from a dog. It was collected using the cephalic vein, as this was already, this site was already prepared from a previous operation. I used a 3 ml syringe, so that's the smallest possible quantity for the test required, with a 22 gauge needle, which is the largest appropriate for the patient. So the blood tubes I'll be using is just these, the green top lithium heparin 1.3 mil tube, and the 2 microhematocrit tubes. All of these tubes are appropriate for the test we'll be running today. Oh, and also I didn't see them. These are the microhematocrit tubes as they come, and they come. It's got a hole in the top for single dispensing. And also, as I noted before, this sample has not been stored. These blood tubes were filled immediately prior to use, as all in-house blood testing is done as soon as possible after collection. I will now put this in our stat spin machine, and it already has like a dummy type tube in there to balance the machine. I now set it to a normal spin, and I'll press start. So while that's running, it shouldn't take too long, I will put my PCV tubes in the rotor ready to swap out with the standard rotor. So it's important the putty faces out, otherwise the blood will spin out of the tube. Put both my tubes in, making sure that they're on exactly opposite sides. We use 2 tubes both so we can be sure that we have obtained a correct result in the first sample, and also so that it balances the rotor. So that's important, that's closed tightly as well to hold the tubes in place. So that's ready to go when this blood is finished spinning. Alright, so let's wait. And when I obtain the results from these samples, I will write them in the patient's history on its computer file. Our computer system is RxWorks. So I'll just wait for the lid to pop open to allow me access. Now I can open that. Here's my sample. I like to pop it on the top of a different blood machine, and I've got some blue tack here just to hold it steady. My sample is slightly hemolyzed because it was taken from the cephalic vein. I will now remove the standard rotor back to one side, and I'll put the PCV rotor in, and I'll set that to microhematocrit. Right, so while that's running, I will just open my refractometer there. Keep my wipes handy. So the way this is done is I only need a very small sample for this. This pipette is fitted for our large blood machine for our biochemistry panel, but I won't need that much, so I'll only slightly depress the pipette end. So I will remove the lid from my blood. I will withdraw. I have some serum in the top. I was careful not to disturb the blood down the bottom. I'll gently wipe this refractometer surface and also the inside of the lid. And that's as much serum as is required for this test. So now I'll close the lid and the sample should spread over a wider area. I'll now look up to some light to ascertain the PCV sample. This patient has PCV of 64, sorry, I've been saying PCV, total protein of 64. I'll now wipe the residue from that serum from the refractometer. There we go. And so now it's clean, and I'll pop that back in its box. It's important this refractometer does not suffer any trauma, as this will affect its capability. I'll just pop these used wipes in the bin. So now my PCV samples are complete. And I'll just recap my blood here. I'll just leave that there for the moment though. I won't need it again. So just taken one of my samples from the rotor. So I will line the start of the blood up with the bottom line there, and also I can see a slight line where the plasma finishes. You might not be able to catch it on camera, but there's a very faint line. So I'll be aiming to line that up with the 100 mark and the bottom with the 0. So That's about right. So that gives us a PCV of 54%. I'll just check that it's the same with my other. I will not dispose of the first PCV sample yet. It should be, looks like there's been a slight problem with spinning this one. There's some irregularities here, so for this reason this one is not a very good sample to demonstrate a PCV, as this will probably be quite wrong. So I will dispose of both of these in the sharps bin. They're made of glass, so they should always be disposed of in the sharps bin here. Alright, so I will just start to put some of my items, move them to the side. Replace the standard rotor in our sat spin machine. It's important I won't close this, as then the lid could lock and I wouldn't be able to open it for a future sample. Okay, so I will now just wipe the bench down. So these are F10 wipes. So, alright. So I'll now remove my gloves and go and wash my hands. So it's important to wash hands before and after putting on gloves, as this will reduce any possible contamination from my hands and also remove the residue left by the gloves. And that concludes this video. I'm Ruffles. Thank you for listening.